I'm Jeff Erickson. He's Jim Coventry. We're with RotoWire, and we're going to talk about some rankings that might be out of the mainstream, or at least ones that Jim and I disagree with. Let's talk about quarterbacks first, Jim. Tampa Bay Buccaneers Baker Mayfield had a miserable game last week against the Denver Broncos. This week he faces a Philadelphia Eagles team that shut down the previously hot Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. You think I'm way too pessimistic. I've got Baker at 22. You've got him at 9 in your rankings.
Yeah, styles make fights, Jeff. And last week, I love what the Eagles did to the New Orleans Saints. They put 6 men on the line of scrimmage. Vic Fangio, genius move, because they run this outside zone to set up their play action, their passing game. Well, the running game never got going because of the 6-man fronts. Fangio played a high shell, took away everything. But the problem this week is you can't do the same thing, because first of all, is you're playing Baker Mayfield's team. You got Mike Evans on one side, Chris Godwin in the slot, and the Eagles really have no credible pass rush. They get a little bit from Jalen Carter inside. They have nothing. And when Baker Mayfield's kept clean, look out. And I don't think the rookie Quinion Mitchell, small and old Darius Slay, no chance against Mike Evans. And then we'll talk about Godwin later, but definitely Chris Godwin's going to be in a smash spot here. So I think Baker Mayfield styles make fights, and I think there's a perfect style for Baker Mayfield.
So it's interesting to me that I thought they did generate a little bit of interior pass rush. That also had to do with Eric McCoy getting hurt early in that game for the Saints, their starting center. But quick, if you're a live in-game bettor, if you see a center go down for a team, usually that's something you can act on pretty quickly. It usually destroys a team's offense.
There's no doubt about it. It's a fantastic call on that. I do want to point out one thing about Baker Mayfield last week while we're at it. It was a good time to segue to that too. Denver has a very, very good pressure scheme. They bring it from a lot of different players. Even though Baron Browning is out, they were in Mayfield's face all day, from the middle, from the edges. It was just nonstop pressure. He never had a chance to throw. As you said, some interior pressure from Jalen Carter, but they have no edge presence, and that's where Baker Mayfield's going to make his money.
Yeah, and you talked about the lack of pass rush. They signed Bryce Huff in the offseason. The Eagles did. He's on a limited role. Vic Fangio even today said he's going to continue that limited role against the Bucs. So he's supposed to be the Hassan Reddick replacement. I mean, he is. Reddick's not even playing, so I guess there's that. But I thought that was noteworthy. Let's stick with that Bucs talk here a little bit there. Let's talk a little Chris Godwin. I've got him below Mike Evans this week. I understand. It's been Godwin's been the better guy. He's got the slot coverage a lot of the times. I think this is a bounce back for Evans. Actually, I don't have Godwin ahead of Evans. I lied about that. I lie all the time. But Godwin is, I've got him at 17. Again, I think that's concomitant with my lack of faith in Baker Mayfield. If you believe that Mayfield's going to have a good game, I guess you want to push up Godwin and Evans too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And look, Mike Evans gets traction here. I know we're talking about Godwin, but the head coach said he wants Mike Evans more involved. So a squeaking wheel from the head coach, that means something. But Chris Godwin, when Liam Cohen came in to coach this offense, I was really anxious to see if he'd bring in some Rams concepts, and he immediately did for Chris Godwin. Godwin lines up in those tight formations. He gets literal free release, just like Cooper Kupp, just like Puka Nacua from the Rams were able to get. That's what Godwin's seeing. 2 weeks ago, Godwin had his whole 117 yards in the first half against the Lions before the Bucs, for some reason, took their foot off the gas. But that style of offense, it's perfect. And remember, Baker Mayfield, with 2 healthy years with Jarvis Landry, Landry is way less talented than Chris Godwin, averaged about 1,000 yards. It's for real what's going on there. And then it's a perfect situation for Godwin. And again, we saw in the slot, Jaden Reed goes 4 for $138 against this Eagles defense in week 1. Mooney plays her sometimes on the outside, but even McLeod, who played the slot, 3 for 43. That's Ray McLeod. So I just love the matchup.
All right. So I may read this. A week ago, you had me revisit one of my rankings. I might do the same with these Buccaneers players. Dallas Godert. Let's stick with this game. Dallas Godert had a beautiful game. We know week-to-week tight ends aren't necessarily going to repeat what they do. You're a little less enthusiastic about Godert than I am. I think some of this is, though, that A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith might not play this week. And so Godert just has to get targets, I figure.
And to me, that's the problem. Are they going to worry about Jahan Dotson? No. Britton Covey was a thing for like 10 minutes and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. They have no receivers, like literally at all. Johnny Wilson, please. Like, was he 6'12", which is 7 foot tall? No, he's 6'5", really. But he's a huge dude. But he's not an NFL receiver. He might be a tight end someday. Godert is going to see all the coverage that they want to put in the passing game. They'll bracket him because they know Dotson can't beat them. And I love Dallas Goedert, and I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. And he smashes here. I just think that they'll sell out to stop him because besides Barkley, who's beating him?
Yeah. And maybe we'll watch the practice reports carefully here with the Eagles as far as that goes. The other thing is I just struggle with tight end rankings, period, this week. There's been a lot of talk and on everywhere you look about the disappointing tight ends all season long. Travis Kelce hasn't scored a touchdown. We got Trey McBride is in the concussion protocol. Sam Laporta's got a low ankle sprain. Jake Ferguson had a big week, but he's already missed a game. I think Ferguson might be fun on Thursday night. We'll see about that. Mark Andrews played 21 snaps. I mean, who do you, that's the real problem is like, yeah, I see all the reasons to be a little hesitant with Godert or Dalton Kincaid or anyone, but I'm not high on anybody.
And that's why anywhere you rank them, it's going to be fair because it's all relative to everyone else. Laporta's on a low ankle sprain. We'll see what that is. So you're right. I mean, the outcomes are all over the board for Godert. I just see he's going to get like a 3 for 19 and call it a day. And I just don't want to lull people to a potential false sense of security after the 170-yard game from last week. But I get your call. There's no reason to shy away from keeping him at number 2.
All right. One other note about that game and other games, especially in the southeast portion of the country, we're in hurricane season. Another one is possibly going to hit as early as Thursday. So something to watch for there in terms of how that affects the game. They twist, they turn in a lot of different directions. They strengthen, they weaken. So I'm not a weatherman. Don't pretend to be. Just realize that is an issue. If you like this video, please smash the like and the subscribe button for us here. It means a lot to us. It really helps us out quite a bit. It gets you notified whenever a new one comes up, not just from me and Jim, but from all the RotoWire crew as well. Let's move on to running backs to finish out here. Actually, running backs and defense this week, Jim. Defense we're going to talk a little bit about too. But James Cook. I have 0 James Cook in my life. I have 19 leagues. I don't have him in any single league. I was worried about the workload. I was worried about the goal line carries. James Cook is getting goal line carries. Got one on Monday night, cashed it in. He's been a rock for you. If you've had him, he's one of those guys you are super happy with right now. Why do you have him at 12 and I have him at 6 this week?
It's a tough one, and it's not far off. This is true. We disagreed on very few running backs, and that's why this one's here, because we have a slight disagreement on it. James Cook coming off a short week, and I do have concern about that. He's not a powerful back, and he did only have 11 carries, so there's that. He did have 4 catches. But realistically, Baltimore is still a solid run defense. They held Isaiah Pacheco to 3 yards per carry, and if they can hold Pacheco, there's some similarities between Pacheco and Cook in their games. Now, Cook could do something as a receiver, and we might see that coming. I think the Ravens are going to come out particularly physical in this one, and I do think they're going to be in trouble anyway. But I end up thinking they limit Cook a little bit more, but we're not very far off on this one.
All right, very good. I won't waste too much time on that. I want to finish a little off the grid here. We're going to talk a little defense real quick. Minnesota is one of 3 teams that hasn't allowed 20 points in a game so far this season. Saints and the Steelers are the other 2. They get Green Bay at Green Bay this week. And I get that Minnesota did it really, shut down San Francisco and Houston in the last 2 weeks. So you can't just point and say, oh, haha, Giants. No, they've actually played two good offenses so far. Although I think they caught each of those teams at the right time. I've got them kind of low this week. I've got them at 19. I'm getting some pushback in the comments of my rankings this week. I guess I just want to see it on the road in a rival game here.
There's no doubt. And Brian Flores is doing a masterful job. He had a good idea last year. He blitzed the heck out of teams. Well, they brought in personnel to match his system this year. So now he's using some of these new concepts that are really stymieing offense around the league. They're dropping different players into coverage. They're sending different rushers to simulated pressures, and it is working out well. He's a great coach. But see, the thing is, Green Bay, they're running more by the week 2 tight end sets, and that is going to counteract. And we know that Matt LaFleur understands. He's coached against Flores. A little bit different last year. He's coached against him twice. He kind of knows what he's getting, and we know the scheme that he uses, assuming Jordan Love plays. They're going to be just fine in this game.